please.
Then it is 6 o'clock, 6:01 p.m. on May 20th, 2024. And I will call the meeting of the Community Development Committee to order. And we'll note the attendance of Councilmember Watton, Mayor Ross. We have Finance Director Tay and Community Development Director Arteche here. And we do not have Councilmember Washington tonight, and without objection, we'll excuse Councilmember Washington's absence. All right. Seeing no objection, that takes us to the agenda. I don't have any revisions to the agenda myself, but Councilmember Watton, nope. Okay. Then we will consider the agenda approved. That takes us to public comment. We are not currently taking public comment remotely at our committee meetings or council meetings. However, the public is encouraged and welcome to send us an email at the council anytime that they like. And with that, we'll go to members of the public who are here in chambers. Is there anyone here who would like to make public comment? All right, seeing none, we will close public comment. That takes us to the minutes, of which I do have one amendment, and that is that I just double checked, and I think that I was here on May 6th. So if we could add me to being present to the May 6th meeting, that'd be helpful.
No objection.
Excellent. No objection to that one. Any other changes? There's nothing
None.
else. All right.
I guess it's just me. No.
That's true. You're the only one there, apparently. Okay, then we'll approve the amendments, the minutes as amended. And for agenda bills, we have two. The first is AB 24-057 FEMA Annual Floodplain Management Plan and Repetitive Loss Area Analysis. And who's leading us off here?
I will.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a tongue twister to say. And I am very pleased to be here tonight to inform you that we have completed our repetitive loss analysis. It has been over a year. You may have recalled me coming to the Community Development Committee last winter to announce that we had finished our CRS annual recertification. And as part of that, we were doing a repetitive loss analysis. And at this point, we are ready to share that analysis with you and move it forward to the City Council with a resolution acknowledging that the work has been completed.
Yeah.
The repetitive loss analysis is required by FEMA for cities that are community rating system within the community rating system program. And it's necessary to meet the criteria for a Category C community, which Snoqualmie is. So attached to this agenda bill is the resolution along with the final draft report. I'm happy to answer any questions, but to me, this is pretty simple and straightforward, and hopefully, we can move this along expediently and get it posted and announced to FEMA and on our website that we've finished this, what we call RLAA.
Were there any significant findings that staff wanted to share with us? Anything of note?
We have reduced the number of repetitive loss properties, and we went through a very detailed analysis to get that number down. I believe it's down to like the 90s, where in the past years it's been hundreds. So this is a really much needed, long overdue analysis, and will really benefit the citizens of Snoqualmie, especially when we move to our next exercise, which would be, moving to a new category, moving from a class 5 to a class 4.
And is that reduction due to anything in particular? Is it several things? For example, we have some properties that used to be right up along the river that are no longer in existence. So I'd assume that they don't get flooded as often.
Yeah.
We also have some regulations that have both been enhanced over the years and have been better implemented over the years, where there are certain base elevations where houses have to be built up to a certain height above ground level, depending on where they are in the city. have there been fewer events that could trigger this? So all of that, or?
I want to say bingo. Yeah, bingo. You're right on. All of those capture the results of why these properties aren't being flooded more than twice. And so that is the definition. Basically, when if it's two or more, then they have a repetitive loss. And so insurance rates improve, the community is safer. We've got these new regulations. We're buying properties that are very dangerous along the water. All of those things make a huge difference.
In the community rating. And then is there a different rating for residential versus commercial, especially on the first floor? Does that change anything for the algorithm?
Of the repetitive loss analysis, these are residential properties.
Okay, so also by changing perhaps the first floor from a residential use to a commercial use could also have an effect.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the residential, there's no living in the first floor.
Right.
It's raised, or it's raised above.
Excellent. Questions, Councilman Watton?
I have none.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then since this is a resolution, is this the kind of thing that can go on consent?
I have no issue with putting it on consent.
Unless there's any reason why staff want to highlight it and make sure that we talked about it.
I'm thrilled to put it on consent. Thank you.
Excellent. Then let's do that. Okay, our other agenda bill is AB 24-067, Climate Change Task Order for Services. And is that going to be?
Yes, I'm
Excellent.
happy to provide you some other wonderful news. The city received $500,000 to do a climate change element that's required by state law. And after putting together a very detailed scope of work and budget, I'm pleased to move this climate change task order forward for the mayor's signature. This is pretty straightforward. We've got the agenda bill along with the task order, and then we've also got attached to this agenda bill the actual Department of Commerce awarded grant. So you can see that there's no impact to the budget because of this work. It's as simple as that. There's more to come on climate change, but this really isn't about moving forward the actual scope of work associated with the climate change. Is more just getting the task order signed so we can initiate the work and bring it into the planning commission's purview and start working with the community and fulfilling all the duties and responsibilities associated with a climate change element.
Okay, I will have some questions, but go ahead, Councilmember Watton.
Thank you. Just looking at the scope of work, it looks like what this encompasses is a lot of information gathering and information sharing as well, that engages the community. What's the end product from doing this?
Well, the tangible or intangible work product would be another element added to the city's comprehensive plan. So we have 6 elements now that we just completed. We'll be adding the shorelines element and the parks element and the climate change element. So the shorelines and the parks are all have their own process. The shoreline was done by council not about 2 years ago. Parks is being redone through the PROPS plan. And now we've got the climate change element. So that'll be number 10, right? Right, 9.
And so then kind of a similar question. Is the intent then that this task order is supposed to essentially get us to the finish line on this element?
Correct. Yeah, we do have a deadline of the end of June of next year to complete this work, and it is a bit of a heavy lift. And it does require maintenance and monitoring after the completion of the element. You can see that the state has mandated quite a few tasks associated with this, and every city is going to help work towards a zero emissions by 2050, including Snoqualmie.
And then is the intent to essentially use these monies to contract the work?
Yeah, this work will be performed by OTAC and sub consultants associated with the task order that OTAC needs to do a lot of the technical review and analysis. We're getting into greenhouse gas and vehicle miles traveled. So there'll be some other subs associated with it, but OTAC will do the majority of the work.
Thank you. Councilmember Watton, other questions?
Would there be any objection putting this on consent agenda as well?
I'm thrilled to have it on the consent agenda,
Um,
but it's just a motion to authorize signature, so.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I mean, I suppose if council members look at the number and they get concerned, they could always pull it off of consent. I mean, we're supposed to do this element anyway, and if this is funds to help us do that, then excellent. Yeah, so I'd be fine with this being on consent. It's not an ordinance, which is kind of the main thing we can't put on consent. So
Wonderful.
yeah, I'd be happy to have this on consent. Okay, then
I have a question.
yes. I mean,
So of the 500,000, so it's going to help with the climate change element, but I also thought that it covered something else and it covered critical areas as well.
Yeah, it'll cover our critical areas update, which is another state mandate. It'll also cover work associated with flood improvement permit and its update, so we can we square up with changes that FEMA has made for flood reduction. It'll
so-
also help pay for some of staff time, associated with managing and doing the work on city staff side.
So the 300 some odd thousand, is that just for the climate change element? And then
Yeah.
the rest of it would be for these other tasks?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, and I would assume any overruns,
Overruns?
yeah, on the climate change element, if it ends up like, oh, we actually need a little bit more to finish it, then
Likely we'd come back to city council for that kind of amendment. It would push us over our authority.
any other questions? All right, then I agree that this could go on consent. And unless there is anything else, I believe that takes us to the end of our agenda. Councilman Watton.
There is one item that Director Arteche reminded me about, and that is to have a roundtable on Monday, June 24th at 6 p.m. to discuss a potential RFP for the affordable housing project on Snoqualmie Parkway.
Okay.
And if we could have a brief amount of discussion now, how that might look.
Sure.
So
Lead the way.
thank you. I've put this forth before nonprofit developers, other people that are in the industry to say, okay, would you take a look at this? And the response has always been not until an RFP is issued. And so we're kind of at this standstill. And the hope is that we can bring forward a proposed RFP for surplusing the city-owned property, have a discussion whether we maintain that as our ownership, whether we do a land lease, and what kind of developments the council would like to encourage, and build that into the RFP. Of course, there won't be any it would be discussion only, no decision taken during the roundtable, but then come back to either the committee for further refinement or onto the council at the discretion of F&A. And I guess would like some feedback on that process.
Okay, so the idea is that at the roundtable, what we would do is discuss at a high level what kinds of proposals we would be interested in as a council and entertaining, and then take that information, come back to committee, refine it, and come up with the specific language that could go into an RFP. Is that the idea?
Yes, and it could be fleshed out a little bit more in time for the roundtable so that we have a working document that we can modify.
Okay, and that would give us another committee meeting before the roundtable, is that right? That'd be June 4th, I think.
Right.
And
Good.
then you're saying June 17th. Oh, no, 24th.
24th.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. Okay. I'll let the chair probably take the lead on scheduling what we want in our next meeting. I don't want to
Right.
speak for the chair, of course. But certainly I agree. That'd be a good thing to have on the agenda then, so that we're a little bit more prepared going into the roundtable.
Right. Okay. Very good.
Okay. I did have one other question,
Okay.
and that is about,
Okay. Claudius?
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead. Go ahead, Mary.
Okay, so was there a question there? You're wondering whether we would actually, that we would run it and maintain the facility, or we would lease it or sell the property?
Yes.
Okay.
All of the
All of
above.
that.
Okay.
What we're interested in.
All of the above.
Okay, so we'll have to, and there's obviously options. We talk with the city attorney, what other cities have done as well. But you probably want to know some of that information beforehand, what that would look like.
Yes. Yes, you are correct.
So Emily, our director, would you be able to talk with our city attorney, Linehan, those options?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I'd really like to know is, what kind of things are off the table? From especially a legalese perspective, like what are some things that we can't do with the property? What are some activities that cities cannot be engaged in?
Mhm,
That'd be helpful to me to know.
mhm.
The other thing was, I remember that there are two terms that have specific meanings, and I always get them mixed up. RFP versus RFQ, I think is the other one. And if I remember correctly, RFP is a request for proposals. Is that right?
Right.
And then RFQ is request for qualifications. And RFQ usually applies to some sort of an engineering thing where there's certain expertise that have to be met in order to be able to engage it. Like the city can't hire me to go fix the plumbing because I'm not qualified to fix the plumbing.
So let me help clarify
Yeah.
why it would be an RFP. We've pre-qualified those that may be interested, and it's going to be a small pool. There are probably 20 or so builders that would build such a thing. Then it comes down to size and scope, because this would likely be 50 to maybe 75 units at most. That's going to be a heavy lift or a heavy ask for a developer that's not already here, including nonprofits. Usually the sweet spot is 100 to 150 units. So it kind of winnows the playing field down quite a bit. And we may get feedback after doing an RFP even of nobody being interested in submitting, but at least we can have a better idea of what it is, because we're at that point where I've asked, and the city of North Bend has gone through the same thing, and you quickly realize that there aren't that many players out there for this size property. So that's kind of the reason why we'll just, my suggestion is go straight to the RFP, because we're beyond asking for qualifications. We have a pretty good idea, but we certainly will publish this so that any builder that has an interest in doing this will have this opportunity. And some of it's going to come down to what we are willing to put on the table, be it for infrastructure, be it for development work or pre-development work. We do have a bit of money, but not a huge pool of money. And so it's basically the RFP is we'll throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks.
And then I wonder how detailed of a proposal would we be looking for to a degree. It's sort of like, anyone bites at anything, that'd be great. But
It has
How
to
far
meet
we'd
our
have to go.
objective of meeting at least the 50 to 60% AMI. And I'll be honest, if we have multiple proposals come back, my suggestion is we put it on a scoring system. So if somebody's willing to build more 50 and 60% AMI units, that they will be scored more favorably than somebody that's more interested in building only 80% AMI. So, and again, I think that comes back to the roundtable discussion. If we're
Yeah.
putting something together, then the next thing is who does the scoring? Does it happen in committee? Does it happen just, it could happen just within the department. If there's not many considerations coming back, and then we make the final. And there's got to be a bit of discretion on the part of the council to say what other wraparound services are there as well, because our past experience has told us that the more services that we can offer for of this type of affordable housing, the needs are greater. And we can discount it all that we want, but there's also other costs to the city in social services and how those are delivered. So I think that's probably the bigger discussion for a roundtable, is to make sure that all of us feel comfortable moving forward and that all of our concerns are addressed.
Another huge concern that I know many of our citizens would have that live around any development is impacts to traffic and parking. And that has been an issue with other developments in the recent past, for sure. So that'll definitely be something that they'll be interested in seeing what can be done on that property. I'm hoping for the best.
That's correct.
All right. Anything else on that? Okay. Then
Thank you.
I believe that we are at the end of our agenda. So if without objection, we'll be adjourned. All right.
Thank you.